This has to be the most empty this desk has ever been in a long time for a recording like this. Because today we are doing the cheapest Game Boy mod we could possibly do. That's actually somewhat decent. And since this is the extended cut you're watching now, if you want my reasoning for why I picked all this stuff, go watch the main channel video. First things first is we got to tear this thing apart. And since this is the cheapest mod possible, I'm only going to be using tools that they give me. I don't get to use my fancy tools that I've acquired over the years. I get to use these crappy things, the bane of my existence. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tri-wing screws here. Man, I have not used, actually, I don't know if I've ever used one of these screwdrivers before, but I do not enjoy this at all. Am I even? No, I wasn't. I wasn't even. I guess the extended cut of this video is just going to be keeping all of the complaints I have throughout this video. My goodness, I do not like using the screwdriver. I'm missing the spinny top on my iFixit screwdriver simply because this is now a two-handed job and I have to put so much pressure for it to actually just spin and unscrew and not just spin on the top of it. Okay, then we can go to our other screwdriver. That's the Phillips head. And we can do that down here in the battery department, compartment, that same thing. And then hopefully we unscrewed it enough. Boom. You just lift that up. Sometimes I like to leave all the screws in the holes, but we're going to have to take those out in a minute anyways. Here we have 2 Phillips screws on each side. Sometimes there's going to be one here instead of over here. And sometimes there's going to be one here, here, and here. There's pretty much always going to be one over here though. And we can just try to unscrew those with these really crappy screwdrivers. Man, I really, really love my tools. I haven't told them in a while. You know what? Everybody at home, go call your tools. Tell them you love them. Now we're going to need to remove the screen from the motherboard. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these 2 tabs up here and just push those up. Push them both away from us. If we do it at the same time, they won't do the little teeter-totter thing. Anyways, if you've pulled it out enough, you can just lift up the motherboard and the ribbon will come right out of the connector. If it doesn't, don't force it. It means you didn't lift up the bail enough. I think it's called a bail. It's like one of those things that you say like over and over again, and then you're like, is that the right word? Have I been using it wrong this whole time? That's why I Google a lot of common phrases. And normally I would discard the shell, put it away, and get out a new one because I like to keep things fresh and clean and cool looking. But that's not what we're doing today. We're doing the cheapest mod possible. So we're actually going to put the motherboard off to the side and we're going to tear this down even further. Now, if your screws are not already out of your back half, you can go dump those out. All of the longer gold ones are going to be your tri-wing screws. I want to put them over here on this handy dandy magnet. Should I even be using this mod mat? I feel like I'm cheating a little bit. It's not that different from a table, and plus the blue mat is better for focusing. But we can go ahead and take all of the plastic buttons out and the rubber membranes. Just dump all of these. I guess we could have just gone like that. That works too. We can take our light pipe out. Don't lose this. It's fine if you do, but try not to lose it. And then we're going to take our shell like this, and we're going to twist and twist like Kesha's first kiss. Not everybody gets that reference. I believe it's a 303 song that Kesha also did with them. I would say that some of you may be too young to know that song, but the majority of my audience is older than me, and you might be too old to know that song. Thankfully, this mod comes with a screen lens, a glass screen lens, so we don't really need to worry about removing the screen lens or worry about keeping it safe. If you are going to reuse the screen lens, I recommend taking it out because we're going to dump everything in a nice soapy bath. And these screen lenses can kind of get ruined when they go in the water. Not just like the sticky part, but like watermarks will also get on it. It's not great. So what we're going to do here, because we're not even going to reuse this, is we're going to punch this out with our thumbs. So I like to go at the top corners, push it out, and then go to the bottom, and then eventually it comes out. And I can put that off to the side. This we're also not going to need to reuse. So we can put all that off to the side. And the only things left to do are remove this. Now, You don't have to remove this, but if you don't get all the water out, then this will rust after a while. So we're going to go ahead and remove that real quick. I believe we can use our Phillips head here. Yep. And these are 4 smaller Phillips head screws. This isn't magnetic, or at least not magnetic enough. And we can just remove these 4 smaller Phillips screws here. Do not get these mixed up with your motherboard screws. Some of you may only have 2 screws in this area. That's fine. Just remove all the ones that are there. And then we can take this metal piece out. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to need to remove the battery connector thing here. It's pretty simple. We're going to take our Phillips screwdriver because it's a little bit thinner. We're going to stick it in this hole right here. At least we're going to try. It's going to be a tight fit, but we should be able to just push through and take it out and slowly back that out. And if you do care about this sticker, you can try and remove it with a blow dryer, get it nice and hot, and peel it off. You have some tweezers or something maybe. But I'm going to keep mine on. It's probably not going to look the best after its little bath we're going to give it. I'm not too worried about it. Plus, if I'm being honest, I have a bunch of these, so I don't need to worry about it. Assuming that you have water and soap at home that you can use, you can just put this in your sink, assuming you have a stopper in your sink, and hopefully your sink is clean. But I'm going to actually use a bucket because I have one laying around on hand. I'm just going to dump everything, every piece of plastic, every single piece, even the metal pieces, because we're going to be quick enough and dry these out. It's not going to matter. They're not going to rust. But every piece of plastic, except, I forgot something. Your L&R buttons have these little metal tabs. We can just pull those out and put those off to the side. They might be a little hard to pull out. It's fine. We just don't want to trap any water in between the plastic and the metal there. We don't want anything to rust, so we're going to take those out. And you can wash these little tabs, but it's going to be a little hard to find. So I'm just going to put them off to the side. They're pretty much clean. I don't think I've ever seen a dirty pair of those before, so I'm not too worried about it. And of course, don't put your old screen in there, but it's probably broken or burnt or something because that's why we're doing this mod, right? Maybe? I don't know. But now that we've got everything in our bucket, we can go to the sink. All I really do is let it soak in a bucket of hot water with basic dish soap for like an hour or so before scrubbing it with a toothbrush. Then I rinse it off and pat it down with a towel before letting everything dry overnight. All right, so it is the next day and everything is cleaned and dried. It actually looks really nice. The only thing that sucks is this battery cover. It was from a different pink GBA. This one didn't have its battery cover, but that's all right. It's just the battery cover. And the sticker actually came out pretty good, pretty unscathed. It might even look better because it's clean now. I don't know. But we can go ahead and place this down like so. And let's get out our mod kit that came in a very cheaply packaged way. But hey, I think it's all good. Usually they come in hard plastic containers. That's all right. At least our screen is in some bubble wrap. We can get this out. And we can empty this bag that is for some reason separated from the screen. We've got our 2 connectors. We've got 2 double-sided tapes for some reason. Cool, if we mess up, I guess. And I think it fits in like that. I don't think it's the other way. Definitely not the other way. Okay, interesting. So it has us use this piece here and sticking it down on this side to even out with the bumps over here. And then we put the double-sided tape on top of that. Very interesting. And we can flatten that out. We should be able to punch that out somewhat easily. Stick that over there. Then we can peel this back. I'm missing my tweezers about now. There we go. And then in the instructions, there's 2 pieces, but there's only 1 piece here. So I'm just going to put it down in the middle like that to keep it as even as possible. So before we put the screen in, what I like to do is place our screen lens on. And we're going to do this all very quickly as to get as little dust as possible between the screen and the lens. So once we peel this, we're going to grab it by the edges here. We're going to place it down in the hole and we're going to place it down like that. And we're going to peel the peel of the screen and it's going to be oriented like this. And we're going to push it all the way down against that acrylic piece and it should fit very tightly between the sides here. And now we should hopefully be all lined up and dust free. I have no idea if there's dust there or not, but apparently we're good. So now we can take our motherboard and slide it in here, and that white line should line up with the connector. There's going to be a tiny bit of brown space between. Then we can lock down the connector like that. It's going to go from up to folding down like that, away from the ribbon cable. Not all of them are like this. For some reason, these ones are. Now here we have 2 ribbon cables. Depending on your motherboard, we can go over here and see that this has a little 40 underneath the connector in this corner over here. So that means we have a 40 pin connector. We're going to use the one that says 40p. If you have a 32 here, you should use the one that says 32p. I'm going to take my 40p and slide it in this connector pin side down, and then lock that tab down like that. And I'm going to fold this touch sensor over like this so it fits in underneath like that. Future Jake here, if yours does happen to come with an extra piece like mine did, or at least the leftover piece that I'm going to tell you to use to put down here, if I haven't told you that already, I don't know where I'm inserting this. I'm going to assume you have some scissors at home, and you can just cut off a piece of the extra or a piece of the remaining double-sided tape. Doesn't have to be very big. This is fine. Peel one side of it off, and you can attach it to your touchpad there. Peel the other side off and stick it up against the top piece there. And to keep this protected, I'm actually going to use our double-sided tape from earlier, our leftover, stick it down there and peel it back, and then just stick this motherboard down like so. And then that should prevent the motherboard from touching this motherboard. And then we can put in our buttons and membranes. D-pad over here, B on the inside, A on the outside, A and B membranes, D-pad membranes. Don't forget your light pipe that goes over here. And we're going to leave the side pieces L and R and the power switch for last. Future Jake again. My A and B weren't working so well, so I'm actually going to take the membranes out. And I'm going to use a paper towel and some alcohol, things that I assume you will have in your house. Put some alcohol on the paper towel, take your membrane, black side down, and just rub it across there. Do it to both pads for A and B, and it should give a little bit of life back into your membranes. You can do that with all of them. I'll do it with the D-pad since I'm here. You just want to be careful not to rip the membranes when you're rubbing them across. They're pretty fragile. And we can take our motherboard like this, slot the speaker in over on this side, and push that motherboard down. Then we can take our Phillips screwdriver and put our 2 or 3 Phillips screws back down. I forget these aren't magnetic, or they are just not very strong. Goodness gracious. No tweezers is killing me. Okay, and then we can slot our ribbon cable into the top connector here and lock those 2 tabs down. Those 2 end pieces should be flush with the rest of the connector, and it should look something like this. Now we can go ahead and put in our side pieces. The one with the notch is over on this side. We can reinsert the metal posts for L and R, and we can slot L and R up here and our power switch down here. I'm going to put that top half off to the side for a second because we are going to reinstall this metal shielding here. Again, with our Phillips head screwdriver, we can put those 4 tiny Phillips screws back down. You really only need 2, but I'm just going to do all 4 because why not? And then flipping it over on this side, we can take our battery thing and just slot that back in just like that. Then we can recenter our top half, put on the back half, use the Phillips head in the battery compartment, and then our 6 tri-wing screws in those 6 original spots that we took them out of. And we are done. I am not going to miss these things at all. I got to grab a game in the battery though. 2 batteries. I know that some of you at home won't have a test ROM. I don't care at this point. There's plenty of games that use all of the buttons, like Tetris you can test all the buttons with. I feel like that's probably the most common game that people have. You can use L and R to expand and shrink the screen. You can use select in-game to hide the next piece, start to obviously pause the game. And in the menus before when you're like choosing your game mode, you can use the D-pad in every direction. Of course, A and B are used in game and everywhere else. So you can test everything in Tetris. But for here, I'm just going to cheat and use my copy. That was a lot louder than I was expecting. Okay, so A and B could use a little cleaning. R and L are good. Start and select are good. Right, left, down, and up. Really just A. A and B could both use some cleaning. I'm not really wanting to go back in here though. The other part that kind of sucks to this, I don't know if it's picking up on camera at all, but because it was such a tight fit, pretty much on every side, you can see some pressure marks from where the screen is being squished. Apparently, it thinks I'm touching the touchpad. Okay, well, and I definitely got some dust on the inside. Great, but the screen is kind of even. One moment, please. Okay, so now that everything is fixed, we can touch our touch sensor up here and cycle through all of the brightness levels. Guess you can just hold it. And in years past, or at least revisions past, this was a much worse display. It's actually looking pretty decent right now. And apparently having some phantom touches. Oh no. Oh no. Not again. I just went in there and fixed it. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. But anyways, as I was saying, you used to be able to change the grid line modes with the touchpad if you held it down, but now that's not the case. And apparently now you can actually solder L, R, and select to have more adjustment options. I'm assuming brightness and grid lines and probably color palettes. But even the description does not really tell us much of anything. The pictures are like grid lines, I think, in a black and white mode and different brightnesses, I guess. I don't know. Not the best description. I'll show off a little Pokemon Emerald on this screen so you can get a good idea of what it looks like. And while this plays, I will explain that if you want more information on this, you can check out the main channel review. I'm going to critique it a little bit more with some B-roll showing off different things, a little bit more in-depth on stuff, using my old comparison video as a guide to compare this screen to the other screens. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much else to say. It's better looking than the last panel from Cloud Game Store. I believe this is from Cloud Game Store. I'm not entirely sure. There's definitely a way to adjust the screen mode, but I don't know how to do that. Oh, HD, but that's black and white. BIPS? What's BIPS? What is BIPS? SL1? Why is this black and white? SL2? Scan lines? Maybe? F0? What does F0 mean? What is this? Hold on, I gotta see without a thing in there. I don't know what F0 means, but I'm gonna leave it on F0 because that looks good. I don't know. What is this mod kit? I have no idea. At least the Hello Kitty lens looks cool. I actually really hate the Hello Kitty logo up there. The colors really clash. It looks gross. What can you do?